All right, y'all, we back. We got episode 4. It's called On the Run. Last episode 3, was Love is Easy. And we ended that off with, can't recall which one of the twins was kidnapped, but one of them was kidnapped, and we ended off with the call from the other one to the kidnappers and how that went down. How he was a little cocky, and they basically called this bluff. Another thing I was confused about last time was why she broke her leg. I thought she was talking about the phone was up in the warden's office, and I was like, "Yo, why you break your leg if you want to get to the phone?" But it was, you had to go to the warden's office to get the okay to use the phone, so she smashed her leg up. Now I get it. She hobbling around. With that said, let's see what happened with this kidnapping. One of these guys is in the middle of a plastic covered room in a rocking chair. He's been there for a while now. Let's see how this goes.
Who's built to be kidnapped? No one. Like, to be sitting there and tied up to a chair surrounded by plastic. Like, really?
No one is built to be kidnapped, but Peter had to learn how. A skill that would come in handy more than once. And for Jay, this was just the beginning of his path of becoming a master negotiator.
I got your brother. We're not gonna mistreat him or anything as long as you cooperate. I need 300 keys.
What makes you think that I'm gonna be able to give you 300 kilos?
That's for you to figure out.
And he said, you're a little bit late. If you would have called me yesterday, I would have been able to give you 300 kilos. And he's like,
What do you mean?
And I said, I gave him.
So his brother already told him, do what the man asks you. He already talked slick to him. Dude told him, you got it. You figure that out. Now he's still playing cute. You should have called me yesterday. I had it yesterday. Like, playing with your brother's life. But you also can't fold. I guess he got a tactic going, a strategy. We'll see.
You're a little bit late. If you would have called me yesterday, I would have been able to give you 300 kilos. And he's like,
What do you mean?
And I said, I gave them out. They're gone.
Well, give me the
And
money.
I said, it doesn't work that way. If you know anything about my business, and you know that no one pays cash. So, but if you want to wait a couple weeks, I got you.
I don't have a couple weeks. Your brother doesn't have a couple weeks.
He said,
How many kilos did you have?
listen, I don't even want to lie to you. I'll make sure I give you whatever I got.
I'm gonna call you back in 20 minutes.
And I got off the phone. Hit me. He sounded like Saul. Hold on, I know the best person's gonna tell me. So I have a family member that comes from that group of people. So I call him.
You cover your face, man, but if you can't figure out how to cover your voice, you pop.
I said, hey, they kidnapped Pete. Let me ask you a question. What do you know about Saul? Like,
Do you think it's Saul?
yeah.
Then that's who it is. Because that's what he does. He robs and kidnaps people for money.
Well, there goes my theory that it was the cartel testing the twins, trying to introduce themselves for some more higher security clearance work. But evidently that ain't the case. It's fucking Saul wilding out.
Now everyone's around. They're like, what they say? And there's like 25 of us, literally in the middle of the street. I said to everybody, like, they want 300 keys. I told them I didn't have that. And I said, listen, guys, you guys are the people that are most important. You know what I mean? Well, let's kind of take a vote. I could call the feds right now, save my brother, but we're going to get indicted. I was accepting the 20 years right then. Or I could pay the 300 keys they're asking me for, but I'm going to have to make that money up. What do you think everybody said?
Let's just pay the 300 keys, want the money up.
Yeah, except for a couple good dudes that were with us since the day one. They're like, call the feds, let's go to jail.
For real?
Seriously, those dudes are still with me to this day.
Just make the money up.
Yeah, so
Call Peter right now. You can make the fucking money up, huh?
So it was a reality that at the end of the day, it was about a business. It was about money. And no one was ever going to care, which is true because that's a fact for me as well and for you as well. We could be all good, but if it comes to your life and you're going to be like, cool. Sorry, guys. Later. So it was a lesson learned.
Posing the question on who was willing to get this money back, pay to make this happen, or who was down to just take the hit, take the Fed's indictment, get some professional help. In doing that, he figured out who was down to do time with them. You know what I'm saying? And then he figured out who was about the business, who was about to, let's keep that going. We got to keep that going regardless. So he knew the dudes that was willing to get indicted loved his brother.
They don't know this, but I could pay that money 5 times. Even imagine that we have to hide that we have money like that to our own people. Because the minute they think they have money, they think, oh, then I like him, but he could afford this loss.
That's the difference between him still being there and them getting killed.
Yeah.
They start counting your money for you. They start spending your money for you. Breeds jealousy. Why ain't I making this specific number? Why he get to make all that and I only make this? That shit'll rot a person from the inside out.
Them people that were with me, close associates that work for us, they're like, bro, get your brother back.
What's the bigger risk? The bigger risk being indicted and doing 20, or them killing your brother after you give him the money? Anything can go wrong.
Get your brother back. Forget this. I said, we're going to get indicted. He said, I don't care. We all get indicted, whatever. Get your brother back, man. That meant a lot to me. I was thinking that I might not make it out. Thinking like, man, this is crazy, you know? Thinking who it could be, of course, you know, and thinking about what would I do, and different emotions, you know, anger, sadness, you know, fear. To sit there like that with that kind of silence and to be dealing with that alone was hard, you know?
You in there, you don't know what your brother's out there telling the feds or telling his people or telling the guy on the phone. Don't know if he's talking slick. Don't know if he's following directions. You just there in the unknown without knowing.
Of course, those little demons that come back, like reliving a nightmare, I guess. Again, who's built for that? Who's built to have something like that happen to them and think you're gonna die? Not just get like shot at or something, but really have that, you know, days of thinking you might die. So they're gonna, my brother's gonna pay the money, they're gonna kill me anyways, you know? It was eternal at that moment. It was like the worst thing ever in the world then.
Did they do anything to you during that time?
No, they didn't actually. I think the worst thing they did was not say nothing. For some reason, like, I don't know what they have in common, but they just, the silence of not saying nothing. Like,
because they knew you was going to recognize their voice if they talk too much.
Like if they started talking to me or something and telling me they're going to kill me, it might be a little better than just quiet, sitting on some plastic all day. You know?
It's almost like
torture.
Like I always think the apprehensiveness and the not knowing is far worse sometimes. How long did that last for?
3 days. It was 3 days. Didn't realize that you see stuff in the movies, it's not like that. You know what I mean? This is my life. This is something I'm living through. These people are going to kill me for the money. And it brings back the fact that how serious this life we're living was. And I remember thinking about my brother, and I was thinking like, man, was he taking everything serious when he, you know, like we play with our lives?
Right, you don't know. You don't know what he's out there doing. You don't know if he's talking slick or if he's all legit.
Was he taking everything serious when he, you know, like we play with our lives too much, that we're gambling all the time. It's like we take it too lightly. Now I'm in a situation thinking, like, how do I get out? There goes my phone. It's the kidnappers. I said, I have 81 kilos and 300,000. He said,
All right, make it 500,000 and let's go. Have it ready by the morning.
all right, I have it ready by the morning.
Saul driving a hard bargain.
We spent the night at the house, all of us. We didn't let no one go home. I went up to my brother's room. And, you know, the bed, you know, it's there. Still looks the same. I was tired, so I laid down in his bed. I felt like religious, but what am I gonna ask God, like, to save me from this problem that keep like putting myself in? I remember getting my knees and praying, and I said, I give my brother back. I promise I'll change my life.
The polygraph test reveals that's a lie.
That's what I read, and that's what I said. I either had a moment and I was just thinking about like us, like I can't see my leg when I'm my brother. By this time, I don't know, laying on the floor and all that. I was filthy again, like just filthy. Just remember them coming and telling me, "Come on, let's go. Please let them be taking me home." Put me back in the van. He has like a bottle of some kind of alcohol cleanser. He starts spraying me down. Spraying the handcuffs down, spraying everything he touched on me. I could see he has gloves on. That kind of made me worried, like, damn, where's he taking me? You know, I don't know. I could smell the alcohol too. I could smell the alcohol from the that he's spraying on me.
Did you think that they might be taking you to
Kill me? Yeah. I'm thinking like he's cleaning the handcuffs.
Got gloves on. Yeah, it's a wrap for you.
Of any evidence. They drive me for like an hour at least. It was a long hour. I could tell we're in traffic. I hear the van stop. He pulls me off the back of the van. He puts the handcuff keys in my shoe. And he told me, "Those are the handcuff keys. Don't touch them. Don't move. Don't turn around. Count to 100. My eyes are still covered. It's sunny. It's like my eyes are hurting because of the daylight. I take the bandage off. I try to see the van, but he was gone. Like that fast, he was gone. I looked and I could see a neighbor. Like I'm in the alley on the floor and I'm there. I could see that there's a man looking. He's looking like, what the hell is going on? And I'm trying to take the handcuffs off.
What's going on is you just was raised from the dead.
I grab the handcuff key and I'm trying to take the handcuffs off. I take one off and then I'm trying to walk away so he doesn't see me, but he's like, look, I can see him peeking like, and then I remember just, stopping to take the other handcuff key off and throwing them away. I threw everything away. Like the last thing I want is the cops to pull up and I'm got a handcuff, and looking around like, where am I? But before I jump out, I tell him, when he's putting me in the van, I remember telling him, look, you got my phones. I said, do me a favor, I need one phone from you. And I had like the world's smallest phone at the time. It was like a pink little phone I used to use for Ashley. And I didn't want to lose my communication with her again, like, because sometimes it was really difficult to get a hold of her. And like, I need that phone. He actually brought it, gave it to me. I used that phone to call my brother. I didn't know where I was at. I was like, I'm in the suburbs somewhere. I started walking around. I could look at the street. And I remember like, okay, I kind of see the big street. And once I get to the big street, I'm like, I know where I'm at. I was like in the suburbs off of like First Avenue and Roosevelt Road. Outside Chicago. And I called Jay and look, I'm on Roosevelt and like 9th Avenue. And he's like, don't worry, I'm down the block. He sent someone to come get me. And it was just like such a relief to be freed from that,
What did it feel like when they took you out of the van and you knew they were going to release you and not kill you?
Yeah, I was thinking my brother, thinking God, like, thank God that I'm getting out of this. Wondering how much it costed me, of course. And it changed me. That moment changed me. To be living through that changed me.
They could have smoked him in the back of that van. They could have smoked him where they had him in the plastic room. He getting in the van, getting transported. He's asking for phones. His brother's being cute on the telephone with the kidnappers. Anything can go wrong in that situation. They managed to get him back. Now my question is, do these guys go after any get back? Because it seems like they're pushing a puff piece. They had to put some money down on somebody. There had to be some gangster shit for the empire to continue to grow, And I wonder if they're looking for any revenge after this.
It changed me, but not made me change my lifestyle. It changed it. Me inside,
In what way?
I felt that vulnerability, like, wow, man, this is, to be handcuffed, thrown in a van. Like, man, this is what you get for being the man. You guys want to be the man, look, it comes with a cost.
Absolutely.
And to be taken like that, be pushed around like that, was like horrible. I'm being held captive, my life's on the line, and I don't know how long they're gonna keep me here. I don't know if they're ever gonna let me go alive. That was real. Like, that was the kind of situation that we put ourselves in. And it's funny how we end up, I felt the same way when I got kidnapped again, when I went to prison. Like, those feelings, I could tell you they were like identical to what I felt when we were in prison.
You throwing spoilers out there. The man got kidnapped again.
Those feelings, I could tell you they were like identical to what I felt when we were in prison.
Did it change anything you then did from then on?
I did.
Oh, it did? How?
I was like some more careful.
But it didn't stop you from doing anything. It just made you more careful.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but wonder if the twins were tempted to get revenge on kidnapper Saul.
Did you ever end up doing anything?
I'm not a revengeful.
Me too. I got the same question.
Were tempted to get revenge on kidnapper Saul.
Did you ever end up doing anything?
I'm not a revengeful person. I don't carry hate. I'm not going to waste my time in hating someone. But he left a little scar.
After multiple reviews of what he just said there, I couldn't really make it out. I think he says he left the hood scarred. So again, I said it feels like a puff piece sometimes. Like, these guys make it seem like they have nothing to do with no violence and they could run their business like that. Evidently the host of the show was thinking that too. Hence the question. He said he don't keep malice in his heart. And it sounds to me like he said Buddy Saul left the hood scarred. I'll review that after I edit this and see if that's exactly what he said.
With Pete being a little more careful, Jay and Val felt safe enough to get married. They honeymooned in Mexico, in the small and sleepy country town of Jalpa, Zacatecas. This is where the twins' family is actually originally from. The boy's father, a wanted man in America, was still living there as a fugitive, and their older brother, Armando, now out of jail, had moved to Mexico to be with him.
Since the minute we got there, Val was the happiest I've ever seen her. And one night, we're laying in bed. I'm sleeping, and she wakes up, screaming hysterically, crying, jumps off the bed, and she's crying, screaming, and I'm like, what? What happened? Like, what's wrong? Like, and she's like, you're gonna go to jail for the rest of your life. And I was like, I am? like I'm shocked. Like, I'm sitting there. She's like, you're gonna go to jail for the rest of your life. I only want one thing. Promise me, I want to ask you for one thing. She said, just say yes to me. Whatever I ask you for, just say yes. And I'm like, okay.
It's a trap.
Let's live here. I don't ever want to go back. I was shocked. And she said, please, I'll do anything as long as you stay here. And I said, all right, I'll stay here.
With Jay and Val happily in Mexico, Pete was the only one left in Chicago, and he was busy looking after the business.
February 9, 2004. I hear my phone start ringing. I think that's like every drug dealer's nightmare, to have like 25 missed calls from a number, What's going on?
You losing that money, Papa.
I remember answering my phone, and it was my sister, and she's like,
P, they're in the houses. They're in everyone's house.
the feds.
The feds are there. They're looking for you. They're looking for Jay. Don't go home. Like, they just left the businesses. They're everywhere.
And I remember that panic hit me. I'm calling to check on everyone to see if everyone's okay. I'm calling my attorney. And yeah, the feds, kicking, they go to like 10 different places looking for my brother and I. We have businesses, and there's a warrant out for our arrest. There's a pending indictment out of Milwaukee. There's search warrants. I'm like, yeah, that's not good. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? And just figuring out what's next. The first thing I had to do was get our money together. So I started just picking up, money and arranging the drugs to be distributed and trying to get all my workers in order. I'm not sure what's going to happen. And once I get the money together and I put the money away and I got to leave, I got to make my way to Mexico, cross state lines into Indiana, and I go back a brand new minivan and I just give them the cash. Like, I want that van. And I had my friend's mom. I said, well, are you interested? Would you like the new van? It's brand new. It's fully loaded. I'm like, if you drive me to Texas, I'll give it to you. She was like, not understanding, like, what? Okay. And we drive from Chicago to Texas, to Laredo. I remember thinking, like, how many times did I take this trip? Now I'm going to Mexico this time with the nervous feeling. Instead of coming back to Chicago with the nervous feeling, I'm leaving Chicago with the nervous feeling. I'm seeing state troopers everywhere. I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, I'm nervous. I throw my IDs away. I have no IDs on me. My friend and his mom's driving us. And then he's driving as well. And then I come to find out that, like, yeah, my license is suspended. I'm like,
bad moves. Y'all get pulled over. He's popped. Y'all popped. Everybody popped.
bro, do not get in that driver's seat ever again. But we drive to San Antonio where his family lives. And he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna have my pops drive us across the border. He's always over there anyway. My dad's like, okay, take this sweet time. And I'm already feeling so anxious. Like, please, let's just get out of here. I'm thinking, like, they're gonna come find us. He's like, Dad, let's take my truck. The truck's like halfway like breaking down on us. He's like jumping off and putting in carburetor fluid and filling up the oil. I'm like, we don't have time for this.
Y'all switched the plan up. He had bought a perfectly working van that got y'all as far as it got y'all for y'all to jump in something janky that you got to put fluids in as you cross the border with a dude that's trying to fly. Come on, man.
It was just like so stressful for me just to get to the border. I remember calling my brother and telling him, look, I'm gonna be there. I remember crossing the border in early afternoon, like Friday or something, and just feeling so relieved to have crossed that border, get to Mexico. We used to have this spot where we, like the nicest hotel in Nuevo Laredo, it was like the Hilton Garden or something, where we would stay, you know, all the time. I remember telling me, just pick me up there. A couple hours later, you know, everyone comes. It's Val, Jay, my brother Armando, and his wife. They come pick me up. We're like, just so happy to see each other. Like, okay, we made it out. You know, I'm trying to, you know, catch my brother with everything that I did and everything that was going on. Just thinking, like, what was next? You know, it was a mess. Driving back home, just so much to catch up on, and thinking like we're gonna have to make our lives there.
Driving back home, you mean?
Back home to Mexico, like to our second home. We drove to the border, and when we got to see Peter, the first thing he did was kiss the floor. He said, I just feel like a load was lifted up my shoulders.
You had the United States government hunting you down.
And we just started driving. So here we are, me, Val, Peter, my older brother, and my sister-in-law. It did feel good. Of course, things had dramatically changed since we were all together. That was the first time we were all together again. The intensity of those last days, and I'm looking for my brother to help me, like, give me, what do you think? My brother was on honeymoon in Cancun, and I'm like, bro, you gotta get the hell out of there. Oh my God. You gotta get this. You have to go. Listen, we'll just go ahead and say it out loud. My brother thinks that every time he was going through something, I was like having fun. I didn't say that. I said you're in Cancun.
Don't forget, us recording.
Them boys got a very contentious relationship about the silliest shit. Because he just said, my brother has a theory in his mind that every time he's going through something, I'm out having a good time. Yeah. Jay was on his honeymoon. Peter was running from the cops. Peter was in the back of a van on his knees with duct tape around his face, and Jay was on the motorcycle cruising.
Us recording this podcast was the first time the brothers have been in the same room together for, well, at least a decade. So sometimes there was a bit of unresolved tension in the room. Going back to Mexico, there was one person who hadn't joined them yet, Pete's love, Viv, who followed her heart across the border. She got on the next plane out of Chicago to join the rest of the family. At first, there was a bit of uncertainty around what would happen to the business.
And little by little, I was going to kind of fade out and stop doing that, like stop selling drugs.
And did the opposite happen?
Yeah. So my brother, Peter, because we couldn't trust many people, he would just communicate with me. So I'm the one talking to everyone on the phone. It's like I went, you know, I'm getting phones, I'm calling everybody. So me and him are constantly on the phone because we knew that me and him could communicate in a safe way. I'm kind of doing all the arrangements, and I'm the one kind of talking to the to our workers back home. Everything's kind of going through me. So my brother and I had like our way of communicating, exchanging numbers. Like we could, we had our little codes and be like, okay. And if we felt comfortable, we could call each other, write this code down. And he'll give me the sequence of numbers that I could like unlock on my side. And I'll be like, okay, I know what number he has. Mm-hmm. So we felt comfortable, like, I don't care if the feds are listening like that. Yeah, by the time they figured this out, we'll be on another phone. We started to promote some of our workers.
Yeah, how did you set up in Mexico?
So we're not there no more. We need eyes and ears. So our right-hand man who was with us for the beginning, we promoted him. You're going to oversee everything because you're there in Chicago. We're going to give you a percentage and we're going to give you the ability to start picking up your own customers. And now you could actually make money.
Evidently, he's part of the team of people that was like, hey, man, call the feds. Let's get your brother. Oh, we're going to get indicted. I don't give a shit. We all get indicted. Let's get your brother. So he got his promotion. About to get that paper.
And you got to oversee everything. And he knew the business. He's been with us forever. So for sure, we just started promoting different, people to take on bigger tasks that we were not going to be able to be there. And it wasn't planned. It kind of developed as you needed it. There was no drug enterprise for dummies book out there. Even though I should write one. We should.
Y'all were writing it.
There was no drug enterprise for dummies book out there. Even though I should write one. We should. No, I'm not promoting that life. I'm not promoting that life. No. This was what we feel is going to work best. And as we went,
they still love it. They still love it. It's still in them.
Went along, we adjusted. We learned the hard way. We made mistakes and we learned from them and we kept going. So we're 22 years old, We're 22 years old. We're on the run. Don't forget, on the run is a pretty nice on the run. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, because this time y'all had bread to run with. This time y'all had your ducks in order. You still had heat on you, but it's different this go round. Y'all had money to run.
Once we got to Mexico, and I felt like
you kind of set up again. It wasn't like you were on the run constantly.
It felt free to leave. Americans had like, man, by the time they come down here and get us, it's going to be a while. So we have some freedom and, feel a little bit free at times. And not only that when my marshal and DA came, like, they didn't even affect my business. They had an indictment, but that's it. Like, my crew was still good. They didn't go there, and I felt like I was one step ahead of them,
So everything is business as usual, except for the bosses are in Mexico.
Yeah, it was free. It was liberating. Like, okay, now I don't have to worry about that. And now we can make ourselves comfortable.
That kind of comfort kills, man.
When we got there, we had bought properties and we had bought cars. I remember my dad's advice.
Yeah.
We had our own home to go to. We had our own vehicles to drive, and we were able to live our, such sweet, moments in our lives, our memories, to be together as a family. And, really thank my wife and I, Valerie and Jay, to really have that foundation of our love for each other.
You lived a good life for a little while, long enough. What's the rest of life look like?
Sometimes, it rains and the power will go out. And I still remember, Val making the best time out of it. It's the time we're bored. No, we're going to play charades. And we're not used to that. Let's play charades, guys. It's in just a family gathering and we just make the best out of it. Just doing the simplest things. And I don't think that me and my brother ever had that.
Y'all been hustling since you was 2.
As a family. Our family was always more, loving but serious. But, and I share this with you, I never played cards. I never played board games. I didn't play video games. I didn't know what chess was. I didn't play Scrabble. And, Val comes from a different family where she's like, let's play this and let's play a card game and I'm a spade queen. I'm like, oh, what spade? And they'll laugh at me. She made the best out of it. We would all have fun. No matter what should involve my parents, they were Mexican and my dad. No, we're going to do this.
Yeah, so that time you were with your mom and dad
Yeah, we
Yeah, with your older brother, because
and his family, he's living there.
he's living there.
So we'd all go to like the horse races with my dad and my mom and all of us. Now that we're down there, it was easier to kind of like to meet people. We're buying like different properties, so we're meeting old people that were in the business like a long time ago, and I'd be like, oh, he has the biggest, guayaba field in the state. We're trying out different avenues at the same time, to see what's out there. And it seems like, like I said, that you got money, they respect you, your name's good. My dad has a good name, and that kind of helped our whole situation.
When you got that money, man, it's like you chasing after it. You might got a number in your head that gets you out the game. If you don't make that move and you don't get out, put it into something legit and figure out how to make that happen. It's few and far in between that get to finish out that dream.
The most difficult thing that we encountered was bringing the money down.
So how did you get the money from Chicago to Mexico?
For every problem there's a solution. If we bring down $1 million at a time, they don't really check the cars coming across. But we're like, man, $1 million fits in the shoe. So us will be like, okay, we'll find somebody. Hey, you want a free car? You want a job? We'll put it under your name, put insurance, do all that. Here's $50,000. The drugs were still coming the same way, same system, just we're not there.
Yeah, and the people that are working for them ain't got no reason to stiff them for money or nothing because they're plugged. I mean, you got a open faucet, not even a faucet. You got a fire pump open of drugs and money. You want that to keep running smoothly, especially when they ran off and nobody came down on y'all. So y'all got the opportunity to get this work.
I'm not letting no one take control of that. Yeah. The only thing, they're not seeing us. Before we were really hands-on, we would see our customers all the time. But we're just doing it like that via telephone, like everything through phone. And, it's working out good. Almost feels like I never left, but it's just very time-consuming on the phone, every step. We had like a little meeting where we had all our workers come out together and it's like, listen, this is going to be the new normal now. We're not there.
Now, is there one ambitious enough to try to shoot for the top?
Peter's like, let's get some four-wheelers. Let's go four-wheeling. Well, what about everybody else? And like, okay, how much they cost? $8,000. Okay, give us 20 of them. In their eyes, we're just Americans here on vacation. And
so is that what you were seeing as not?
Not at the time, no. But I see people started talking. We started going out like, let's go to a little bar, man. We'll walk to the bar.
Now you better build a bar on your land, invite your little workers, and stay your ass out the bars and the clubs, man. Stop buying 20 ATVs and shit. For y'all having such a long vision, man, it's I guess it's like, what could you do at that point? You got all this bread. It's like, if I can't do what I want, what's it worth? But still, if you want to keep it, if you want to keep that longevity going, you can't be seen like that.
Like we're walking down the streets, like we're so friendly and calm, and the town has a little.
Cause I ain't heard them say once that they owned the front or had a business or something to wash the money with. I haven't heard nothing about that, and they've been pushing millions back and forth across the border.
There's a little center where everyone sits down and has their coffee and infused waters, and I have a whole crew of these little kids that will follow us around everywhere we went. Like teenagers.
Y'all got that dough.
And I give them a little money, buy them some shoes and stuff, and I'm like, go, tell the owner that we want some champagne. So they'll bring the case of champagne for the biggest city closest to us, and then we'll go drink. I remember asking them, like, how much is a case of Coronas? I think it was like 30 pesos or something. I'm like, $3? Yeah, give me 100 of them, and just give them to everyone. Just everyone, free drink, free beer. We drove my dad mad. Like, we were driving him crazy because he knew what people were going to think. Like, what are you guys doing? We needed some type of protection as well. So we got the police force and we started to donate just to be safe. They started working for us. Remember, at this time, I'm in my 20s. Like, I really want to say this about corruption in Mexico or anywhere, even here. Like, I do understand that the negative things that come with corruption. Like, once you corrupt someone a little bit, they're corrupt all the way. And once they take money from you, they'll take money from anyone. That system doesn't work for the people, because it will affect them in every way manageable. And I think that we didn't see that at the time. Works for us. It works for what we're doing. So, but we didn't see that. Next thing you know, they're cutting corners on their daily job. They're not really doing their jobs anymore because they're corrupt. You know, whether it's a governor or a politician, they have their self-interest at hand.
Of course, it's greed. It's money. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. These guys find themselves in a position of power. They take this money. They sit around. They do nothing. The people fall apart. And then they just pass it on to their nephew, their son, and so on and so forth, generation after generation of one hand greasing the other, and none of that money ended up on the street.
And all this time, you're working the phones.
There's new things we're doing. Like at the time, we have to get comfortable with, like, you know, meeting people down. We start meeting people. We have product. We have cocaine. We have a distribution. We don't we never stop sending cocaine. We never stop. So we're always open to new opportunities. We're always looking for the next thing just in case. It was always us, even though we were comfortable, always kind of starting the new thing while the good thing that was working for us was going. I never intended to miss a phone call from any one of my phones.
It was just so much going on, so many different people coming in and out the house, different cars, Jay with his 100 phones, P with his, I mean, it was just overwhelming. It was a very overwhelming. I didn't understand it either. I knew that the business did come first.
In the most intimate situation we were in, or I was in the shower, I'd be like,
oh yeah, it was never missed a call. Definitely never missed a call. We could be in the middle of dinner or in the middle, you know, of a movie or whatever, and he would never miss a call.
In the middle of fucking.
I mind my own business, but I knew that whatever was going to happen, that was going to come first. And it was important.
Why did you never miss a call?
Because there's so much at stake. My life was on the line, my brother's life, everyone's life, our well-being, you know, not only mine, my workers, my customers. I just couldn't miss the call. I couldn't afford to think that someone made a decision that needed my, you know, attention, and I wasn't there, and I missed the call, or someone was calling me and saying, hey, look, I got this money. Because now our phones are our lifeline, literally.
How many phones did you have at this time?
Usually 40 to 50 phones. I'm talking about. Because now anyone we talk to, we can't trust. So that means anyone, the person who would help us with the cars, they got a phone. I got a phone. Person who threw out our garbage got a phone. I didn't trust the communication to like put us in a vulnerable state where they could find us, you know?
I think that Peter and Jay, they micromanaged everybody. And I feel like they implemented that system that they learned in McDonald's to their own organization, their own business. They felt like, okay, well, if the fry guy just has one job to do one thing and make fries, you can't fuck it up.
They got to sign off on everything. 50 phones each, different time zones, depending on where it's coming from. It's a lot of effort, man. A lot of juggling right there. Can't make one mistake.
In their mind, they just felt like, don't think for us. We're just going to think for you.
We're problem solvers. And not only do I want to solve the problem, I want to solve it to the best way possible. So for every little situation was like, how are we going to do this now that we're here? We had experience. We keep losing workers in our warehouse, right? How are we going to avoid that? I'm like, you know what we're going to do?
Why did you keep losing workers?
Because the shipments will get caught on the road, and they would bring the feds with them.
Did that happen a lot?
It happened often enough for us to say we can't afford to even take that chance. So what we did is, we're like, you know what? We're going to have our drivers get a warehouse in Chicago, and we're going to make them get their own warehouse. And if we need to have them sit there for a couple of days, once they're in, they can sit. Once we feel everything's good, we'll send our drivers and get them to pick up the cocaine. And we're going to do the same in LA. And we're going to do the same in Mexico. That way, if one of them gets caught, they don't know where the rest of the warehouses are. We saw that, but we don't have to worry about that. And we took drug dealers that were...
Gotta compartmentalize everything, man. Real tight chain of command.
We took drug dealers that were selling drugs that we knew, and we said, you can't have no more drugs. You're going to come work for us. If you were selling 25 keys for us a month, I'm going to pay you $50,000. Meaning you were not making that. You're going to come work for us. You're our manager now. Sometimes we could have them sit in a house 6 months at a time. Wouldn't leave the house. We'll have someone actually bring them food, and they would sit there and take care of the drugs or count money all day. Later on, we rented our own warehouses, our own garages. We're outfitting our own vehicles. We have our own mechanics. We have car lifts, truck lifts.
Now, hopefully, all of this stuff comes from shops and fronts and businesses that they own.
We're probably a good 18 people at that time. If you take everybody that was helping, I would say around 30 people.
How many drugs do you think you move in each?
We consistently sold at least 1,000 kilos, 800, 1,200 kilos a month, 1,500 cases. It started to be to our benefit not to take the drugs to Chicago because we could make more money. So us making these deals in LA and transporting the drugs was more beneficial to us. So the common practice of the drugs and the way it works is that wherever they give you the drugs, you're going to pay the price for it. So if I get the drugs in LA, I'm getting an LA price from. If I get the drugs in Chicago, I'm getting a Chicago price. If I get the drugs in New York, I'm paying New York price. The farther it goes away from the border, the higher the price. It was beneficial for us to get the drugs in Mexico or in LA than it was for Chicago. And I realized that the smallest person in our organization was the most important ones. The person that actually went and handed the kilos over to someone was so important because without him, I couldn't make my business work. And I think like the same way with Amazon, if you don't take care of your drivers, your delivery personnel, what's your business based on? Nothing.
The twins were always looking for the next big thing, the next pathway to more cash, more notoriety, more success. And they found one in the form of a man named Guadalupe, also known as Lupe or Tio Uncle.
The first time I picked him up, I didn't know him. My brother had met him before. And since we're identical twins, my brother's like, just go pick him up to the airport. He's going to recognize him. He sees me. He's like, Sobrino, Tio. And like, Uncle, okay. He's an older man. Imagine white hair, glasses. He becomes, one of the biggest and most reliable cocaine suppliers we've had up to that moment. We get robbed. My work is kidnapped. We get robbed for 400 kilos. I try to stop the load and say, wait up, my house has been compromised again. Don't sell no more cocaine. And he tells me he can't stop that. I need to receive the other loads. He requested that my brother and I turn over all our entire business. I want the warehouse. I want, the guys to help me, this and that. I'm like, I can't do that.
So somebody was ambitious enough to try to hijack the whole operation. Says somebody got kidnapped. He's telling them he wants the crew to help him. They're telling him he can't let that happen.
I'm not gonna do that. He comes like a week, 10 days later and says, you know what, let's fix this, man.
Fix it? How can you fix that? There's no fixing that. That's wishful thinking.
Come man, let's fix this. April 2005. I don't see him. I brought a bunch of phones. I was just giving him some phones, like, how you been, whatever. We sit down. We just small talk. About 5-10 minutes maybe go by. And then, I hear the loudest bang go off. It sounded like a grenade went off. It kind of stalled. I'm like, what the? And I can hear it coming from like the back of the house, It happened so fast, like honestly, it's just black.
They got you again.
And so I hear them kind of yelling after the, the loud bang, like yelling. I a little bit to understand that they were yelling, federal police. And I see them, they're all ski masks and they're coming in with rifles. And they come in and they're like, everybody down.
All right. In this episode, we covered Peter getting rescued by Jay. They put up the money. They got him released. Peter, with the law on his heels, made a run for the border. They run business as usual for a while, living the dream. Get to the point where one of their workers gets kidnapped and somebody has the ambition enough to try to strong arm them. They set up a meeting to fix things. I don't know how much you could fix betrayal. And all of a sudden, explosions and police everywhere. Police in ski masks with rifles, so who knows if that's the police. We'll find out next time. Subscribe to the channel. Peace.